11 minutes past the hour of 8, and you're just in time for your favorite segment where we have real life conversations, and that is Our Views. My name is Shivan, and joining me are the ladies on the panel. I have Kieran Otozo and I have Sarah Apollo joining me this bright, beautiful Thursday morning. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Are you excited? Okay, I know the topic we're going to talk about is quite sad, but guys, I mean, we have to find our way around it, and that is why we're talking about it this morning. Yeah. So this morning, of course, in relation to the fact that children will be going back to school on the 10th of January, and a report did state that between the year of 2019 and 2020, cases of the kidnapping rate in Uganda was at 2.4 per point, and that is quite high. And we have had a number of reports from different stakeholders, including the police spokesperson, that is Fred Enanga, who came out to state that, especially amid this COVID-19, we had so many children loitering and moving around the streets, and therefore they were prone to being kidnapped. And now the children are going to be going back to school. Not very many parents can actually afford to either drive them or even pay for a boarder. Some of them actually have to walk to school. And that is why this morning it is very important that we discuss how best parents can be vigilant, but also the children, you have got to stand up for the right cause. You have got to be armed. So this morning, together with the ladies, we're going to be looking at that issue. But also in relation to that, actually the UN did find that countries with the highest kidnapping rates are Pakistan, followed by England, and then Afghanistan. And in Africa, Uganda comes at actually number 8, and the topmost is Uganda comes at number 8. And let's first of all define what kidnapping means, and that should be running on your screen. And it says child kidnapping or child theft is the unauthorized removal of a minor, in brackets, a child under the age of legal adulthood, from the custody of a child's natural parents or legally appointed guardians. Yes. And we have a story, before we actually dive into this conversation, we have a story that did run in the newspapers and on different media platforms. And it says a 6-year-old girl went missing last year in March 2nd in Chanja, Walufumbe Zone, Nakawa Division, was found dead. And Rosemary Ngambechi Purity disappeared from home under unclear circumstances, forcing her elder sister Namatovu Shakila to report a case of a missing person at Chanja police station. Now, this is one among the 300 cases that happen every year in Uganda, and this is a big issue. It is a big vice, and it is the reason why we are discussing it this morning. First of all, ladies, what do you think are the causes of kidnap, especially child kidnap? Because we're not generalizing it, we're looking at it in the aspect of child kidnap. What do you think is causing or fueling this vice to take place in society?
There are many reasons. Number one, child theft. When people take a child and hold the child for ransom, they want money. That could be attributed to poverty, where people have been, pushed to the edge to go about and use dubious ways in which to, earn money. Kidnap a child and then demand a ransom from the parents. Other reasons could be they're pedophiles. People who have a sickening interest in children, and so they kidnap children to misuse them and mistreat them. Other reasons, child trafficking or human trafficking, where there are some people who go about the whole child adoption process the wrong way. You want a child, but then maybe you're being frustrated by the laws or the process, and then you just opt to just grab a child on the street, or even steal a child from the nursery at the hospital.
Very much so.
Yeah.
So how about you, Kira?
Even rituals, just to add on what Sarah's actually said, she literally said most of the reasons as to why this tends to happen. The other thing I would say is rituals.
True.
People tend to kidnap kids because of rituals, for God knows what reasons, but yes. And I would say that's mostly it, rituals, pedophiles, like you did say earlier. So I think we need to find a way to make sure this doesn't happen, because not the first time this has actually happened. It's been that for so many years, for so many generations, and it's a vice that has not actually been addressed so much.
It has been addressed so much, it's just that we're failing to put it under control. Because there are many reasons as to why people do it.
Yes.
And we're not putting in enough efforts to
put
protect
an
our
end to it.
children, to
Yeah.
put an end to it. We are trying, but I mean, look at the statistics
because the
every year.
statistics
It's
see
crazy.
quite a lot, and it's not only just the parents and guardians and even teachers and adults, but even it goes back to the children, because then I would come and say, for children that have gotten kidnapped, especially the little one, someone will come and tell you, can I give you a sweet? Can I get this for you? And then the next thing you know, your child has been kidnapped. So I think it's an issue that cuts across both children, adults, and different stakeholders. And yet again, it has to be handled by all stakeholders being brought to book. And actually, a 2020 trafficking persons report in Uganda did state that between 7,000 and 12,000 children are exploited and trafficked out of Uganda. That is quite a high number, between 7,000 and 12,000 children. But first, let's take a look at what Fred Enanga had to say in regard to this particular issue.
Schools on the 10th of January 2022. So the joint security agencies are more than prepared, and we are going to monitor safety and security of school children as the schools open. It is important to walk with them and teach them safe habits around the drop zones or in their classrooms. It is a danger that some parents remain in their vehicles and ask the children to cross the roads and enter the school premises, which is risky because at these drop zones, there are other dangers, including reckless driving. Visitor procedures and how to access school buildings is a high priority area. And now with the COVID, they really need to be very, very strict and highly restrict visitations.
Well, that's Fred Enanga, the police spokesperson, and if you are able to read between the lines or even understand and digest what he had to say, his major concern actually lies with the parents, and he urges them to be very responsible. So ladies, before we even get to the children's aspect, how do you think parents and guardians can be responsible, or what can they do to actually prevent this vice from happening?
You know, we can, as parents or anybody who is a parent, there's only so much that you can do because you're not with your child, you know,
24/7.
24/7. However, you can equip your child and empower your child with skills that they can use to protect themselves. Number one, tell them to never go to the shop or to school or to walk alone by themselves. They should identify, say if they're going to school, walking to school and walking back from school, they should identify children who stay in the same area and walk as a group. You know, that is the buddy system. When they are together, they are less likely to be, you know, kidnapped or attacked if they're in a group. Number two, your child, always ensure that your child knows their names, their full name properly. They know their parents' name, both their names, their telephone numbers of their guardians or their parents, and they should also know the street and area in which that they stay. So that in case they find themselves in a situation where they're abducted and they are able to you know, to run away or escape, they have information that they can share with, say, the police or people around so that can identify their people. Number two, you must also tell your child where to find the police stations or find the LC, you know, chairperson of the, you know, local government offices within the area. So it's important as parents that we give our children a tour of the area that they stay. They should know landmarks, you know, the police stations, the LC, you know, office, in case
Isn't that too much information for a child?
It is not.
They
It
need
is
all
not
this
information that you just impart in one day. You know, as time goes by, you can even make it a habit that every evening after work, take a walk around the neighborhood and say, oh, this is where the police station is. That is where the LC chairman stays. So in case of anything that happens, that is where you can go to. Or that is where the church is. If anything happens, you can run there and ask them for help. You understand? And also, it is good to work hand in hand with your teachers, your children's teachers. So that when say the day ends, you can call the teacher and ask, hey, has my child left yet? Or has my child arrived yet? If they're going to school. So it's important to always impart this information and also teach them to learn to speak up and say no. Remember when we were growing up at school, they always told us, do not talk to strangers, do not accept any snacks or sweets from people that you don't know.
But nowadays,
But nowadays these campaigns are, you know, not as aggressive as it was back in the day. In school we had signages all over the school saying don't talk to strangers, don't accept gifts from strangers, learn to say no, okay, good touch, bad touch. Remember all those posters that were around the school? So I think we need to bring back that culture and remind children that, because children are really innocent and they never think that anybody has any dubious intentions towards them, because they are young and, you know, and pure and very innocent. So it's also important to tell your children that this world can actually be a very ugly place, but not everybody is bad, but just if you don't know somebody, do not interact with that person. Like stranger danger, run away.
It actually reminded me, there's a time I went to church before lockdown, and this particular child was lost, and the whole time I kept on asking her, who is your mommy? And do you know what she said? Mommy. Who is mommy? What's the name of your mommy? My name is called mommy. And I'm like, what do you mean your mom is called mommy? You see, it goes back, you know, there are children who you actually ask, what's the name of your mom? And she says, my mother's name is called mommy. Yes. And my father's name is called daddy. Yes. I think it also goes back to the parents. You need to teach your children your full names. Full names. If your name is Shiva and Auma, tell your child, in case someone asks you who is your mother, it is Shiva and Auma, because they constantly think that actually their names are mommy and daddy. Yes. However, Kira, so how do you think parents and guardians can actually help to combat this vice?
One, pray.
Pray
About it.
You've gone religious.
Yes, yes, pray about it to make sure you're not a victim, because honestly, we may say, talk to the kids, do this, do that, but some things we have no control over. You get it? So one thing, do pray to make sure you're not a victim of this vice. I remember being a child when I had so many of these stories at the time. Kidnapping was literally a lot in Uganda, and I was always really, really worried, and I always prayed that this never happens to me. So I do believe prayers actually do help. And another thing, like talk to your neighbors. Get to know who your neighbors are in the neighborhood. Get to know the neighbor that stays in the nearby place. Literally know what transpires about your neighbor, so that just in case actually anything happens, you know where to go to first. Another thing, as much as we may say don't talk to strangers, chances are a person is going to talk to a stranger. So the other thing I would say, if you're going to talk to a stranger, don't reveal so much about yourself. Don't reveal. Be mindful of what you say or tell someone you just met, even if it's just an hour, a couple of days, because you never know the information you actually give this person. They may actually feed off that. We've seen incidents whereby a house help has been left in the house, and you come back the next day and everything has actually been taken out. So you really have to be cautious of the people we bring around ourselves or our kids.
I don't mean to be that person, but it's good to pray. I'm just gonna put it, no, I felt it in my soul to say this. It's good to pray, right? But we shouldn't just leave it to prayer. We have to be cautious, because
we are.
It's not enough to just pray that does not happen to you, because it's perhaps in your destiny that is supposed to happen to you. Because let's be honest, bad things happen to good people, and it's always good people that always fall prey to bad people. So it's not just enough. You have to please pray. I absolutely agree with that. I'm not
disagreeing with.
Don't leave it to just that and say, oh, it's prayer and what. No, you have to take active measures to protect yourself and your children every day.
Very much so.
Because you can't leave it.
Active measures.
Yes.
Kira's is prayer.
You can't leave it to the universe. You can't leave it to the universe to protect you. No, these things will happen to you regardless.
Okay, so ladies, still going back to the conversation. Let's get back to still going back to the conversation. I want to bring in the aspect of technology. And I, for one, even at such an old age, I'm not going to reveal how old I am, but even at this age, the way that I'm actually able to, because when it goes back to being proactive, even something that I teach my siblings, something that I like to share with people, is that you can actually use technology to help you not get kidnapped. Now, people complain as to why I am always putting my life out on status and bitching, but I did read a report in the New York Times, and it stated that actually technology and leaving a track behind can help someone find out where you are. Every time I am going to a place, I will take a video of myself, the person I'm with, and even when we are entering the gate. The other way, we were going to a restaurant. We were going to a restaurant with Hira, and I took a video of myself and her, and even when we were entering the hotel. That leaves a footprint. If anything happened to me, they will know, oh, she was last seen with Sarah, or she was last seen with so-and-so, and they went to this place. And actually, in relation to technology, in America, a TikTok a TikTok signal actually saved a life of a teenager, as we're about to see in this video.
It was nice to see you again.
Yeah, great to catch up.
Yeah. Oh, can you share that banana bread recipe?
Oh, sure. It's actually my mom's banana bread recipe, but it's pretty foolproof and it's super easy.
Oh. Well, I appreciate it. I know your mom is a great baker, so I should be good.
The trick is to grease the pan really well and use overripe bananas. That's my mom's tip.
Okay, good to know. I can't wait to try it. So thanks again for the recipe.
So for this particular video, you're able to see that this lady was actually signaling her friend on a Zoom call and she wanted help. In the same way, I think that as parents or as adults and guardians, we could come up with codes or languages, or come up with something that you're able, if your child says it, you're able to know that either he or she is in danger, or they're not comfortable, or something wrong is happening. What measures are you putting in place? It goes back to being proactive. I have a signal when I am in danger or when I need help. I'll call you more than 3 times, then you will know that I'm actually help, or I need help or something. So now, ladies, let's now go back to the drawing board and look at the children, because they are the ones that are in danger. What can the children that are probably watching this morning and their parents are watching, what can they do to make sure that they're not put in harm's way? What is that one thing that you think they should do?
I mentioned them. Number one, if you're walking to school alone, or going out or whatever, don't go by yourself. Always have someone with you. Number two, parents need to teach their children how to use their phone, phone skills. That will actually save them. Even if they don't have a phone on themselves and they know how to dial the number and they know the numbers to call when they're in distress or need help, that is very helpful information. That for me right there.
Speaks volumes for you.
Speaks volumes.
How about you, Kira?
For kids, like Sarah said, they need to walk in groups. It actually does help a lot. For a person who doesn't really have a phone, I think that really does help walking in groups. And then just keep an eye out. If somebody is new to your eye, ask yourself, who is this person? Be on the lookout for any new face around you, even if it's in the neighborhood, even if it's in your own house. Be on the lookout. So I think that's what I can say for kids.
And also you said one thing, always leave a digital footprint. Like what you always do. Like for me, for instance, if I want to remember what happened, because I take a selfie every day. Every day I take a selfie. Every day of my life, ever since I got a smartphone, I take a selfie. So that also helps me with, backtracking and keeping tabs on what it is I was doing. So you could also encourage your children to take a selfie every day, or whatever new location that they're going to, they take a selfie. And if they're going to be using, say, public means, say, using a car hire, service, or using a border or whatever, let them always inform somebody where they're going, who they're with, and which transportation they're using. So you could send a text, like for me, for instance.
Even taking a big picture of a bike that is actually maybe taking you, or a taxi. You can
take a picture of the number plate. And
I tried it once, and a taxi man almost slapped me because I told him, boss, can you first stand? I need to take a picture of you and take a picture of your number plate. He told me, oh, ina kajanja, if you don't want to go, don't go.
Yes, you can openly. Yes, you can actually. You can openly do that. And when they do something like that, then probably they have something to hide.
Something to hide.
So you could do it either discreetly or just openly and say, this is the number plate of the car that I am in, or this is the number plate of the border that I am using, or this is the person that I am with. It is always important to let somebody know, a trusted guardian or whoever, know where you're going, or who you're going to be with, or which mode of transportation that you're using for. Because you never know, anything can happen. So it's important.
And actually for different apps, for example, the different apps that I have tried to use, for instance, Border or even Taxify, when you're actually, you can be able to share your trip with someone. So they are able to monitor that now she has left Kansanga, she's moving towards town. So these are actually some of the measures that you can, make sure that if your child is probably taking an Uber or a Border, you're able to view their trip on your phone.
Another thing, one more thing is if your child is allowed to go with a phone to school and your child has a smartphone, it's important that they always have their location on. Yes, location. So that you are able to track them in case anything happens. Or if you're just a snoopy parent who wants to know where your child is, just make sure that their location is on, and you'll be able to always, keep track of where your child is.
Now, as we wrap up the conversation, you talked about school-going children, and the major reason why we're talking about this is because children are supposed to go back to school on the 10th of January. So we've looked at parents, we've looked at guardians, we've looked at the children themselves. Let's look at the school teachers, because many times a child has left home, they are going to school. So the parent thinks the child is at school. The child does not arrive at school. The teacher thinks the child is at home. So there is a miscommunication in there. So how can teachers work together with parents to make sure that this gap is actually bridged and they know that the child has reached and the teacher has actually seen the child?
You see, it's an obligation for teachers in schools to ensure that their students have all attended class. And that is why there is roll call at the beginning of every class, of every lesson. Actually, not even every class, every lesson, the teacher does roll call, or you sign in attendance. And when the teacher finds out that there are some children that have not attended, it's the teacher's obligation to call and find out why did this student or why did these people not attend school. Yes, and also it's the parent's obligation to inform the school, the class teacher in particular, if their child is not going to be reporting to school. So if the child is supposed to be at school and they are not at school, and somebody does not and someone is not proactive enough to follow up on that, then it's just neglect and irresponsibility. But I believe we as parents or teachers as well should always ensure that your students are always in the classroom, and the parents have to also ensure that their child is in the classroom. You can go ahead and just ask, because now there are WhatsApp groups for almost every school, every class, class, and then you just ask, hey,
what's going on?
Is so-and-so in class today? Or has she arrived? I sent her to school. Or has she arrived? Or has he arrived? Yeah.
Well then, thank you so much, ladies, for being able to weigh in on this discussion. And if you have been watching us this morning, if you're a parent, if you're a child, if you're a teacher, if you're a different stakeholder and you want to put an end to this pandemic, to this epidemic, it is very important that you are proactive. It is a collective responsibility for all of us. Let's just not leave it to the parents. And for the children out there, it is very important that you keep yourself safe. In case you are actually found in harm's way, have a code language, have a code signal where you're able to tell someone that you're in danger and you actually need help. Otherwise, that winds up the conversation that I had for you today on Our Views. Good morning, and do not blink, because right after this, Sarah Apollo is going to be coming with yet another juicy discussion. You do not want to miss that.